You're listening to Wrestling Cheers. Love that, Danhausen.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially at the Odeon. This is Wrestling Cheers. We'd like to talk about things going on in the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is a review episode of AIW's Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. I am your host. I am Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by the Trending Topics Network, Midwest Territory, and Key on Sports. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we still have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said, this is a review episode and the final show for us of the J-Lit weekend. A little bit out of order, but we got J-Lit done. Now we're on to the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Like I said, I am your host. I am Justin Summers. And this week I am joined by, once again, Stacy.
Hey, man. It's like I never left.
It is. It's like I just talked to you yesterday.
It's exactly like you just talked to me yesterday.
And we also have Charly Butters.
Hey, man. I'm still on a tear, and I'm back again.
So that's one down so far. Let's see how many more times you say it. So, Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Like I said, a little bit out of order, but this is in between night 1, night 2. And how'd you guys feel coming into this with everything on the line? Well, especially with the tag team scene, because it just seems like it's always to infinity and beyond wins, LOL.
I was actually really excited for this show. The tag team division in AIW is pretty strong at this point, and there were a lot of good matches on set that could turn into a really interesting situation in the second round, just to see what route the whole thing would go in the end, because it does kind of set up Absolution and going forward, and the show delivered, man. I thought it was a real good show.
How about you, Charlie?
Everybody was on a tear, and I thought overall the whole show, it was a lot of fun, and what I was most looking forward to was the unannounced matches, or the sort of announced matches that kind of took place in between the rounds, just to see what they would do with those. But the tag team scene in AIW is awesome, and I had no doubts that their finals and everything was going to be something to see.
There was one big, I think, favorite going into this weekend. The whole past year or so has been about one team, and that's PME. And they were the second match on the card. We did start off with one of my favorite teams, and I thought they had a really good shot of winning. And if not this year, maybe next year. But we started off with the production versus the Young Studs. And
just right before that, though, we started out with a very impassioned speech.
That is very true with Steve Guy. He's
paying respect to Biggins. Steve kills it with those things, man. And I don't know if he ever gets enough credit for it, but man, he is excellent at that type of thing, like taking a situation and really putting in words the feelings that are going on for people. So skip over that.
Yeah, because I'm going with Twitter results, and I didn't really talk about that, but that is something that needed to be brought up. Steve Guy is the Captain America of AIW, of he's really good at those fucking get you pumped up speeches. And this did not disappoint at all. And I haven't gone back to watch this on Fight TV, and I do believe this should be on the Fight TV.
Yeah, somebody told me it is, that it starts with that, so.
Which, it goes back to J-Lit, because there used to be a thing every year, and maybe we didn't do it because it was on Fight TV, but they used to introduce every single competitor, get them all in the ring, and take like this really cool group picture. Not necessarily a group picture here, but you brought everybody out, and everybody was around the trophies, and like there was the speech. So kind of missing from night one, but here it is part of the Chandler Biggins Inferno Tag Team Tournament, so still awesome.
Imagine being on Fight, the time it would take to have 24 people come out individually, you know? Like, even with this, like, when the show started, everybody was just already there at the ring.
Yeah. Well, what they would do was they'd hit JT Lightning's music, and it's kind of like you bring people out one after the other, so maybe taking like 2 minutes, maybe, I want to say, if that.
Oh, okay.
I think the big thing,
I guess not that much time, though.
Getting everybody together for the picture and all that kind of stuff, that would be the hard part to do on Fight TV. But the group pictures, which I don't know how many years they did it, was kind of cool, and then somebody would edit in the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament logo, and I think on the very first one, someone did like JT was in the picture. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, back to the opening match. The production versus the Young Stud, two teams that are very, very familiar with each other, and we kind of knew what we would get coming into this. And the dude does need to be mentioned. Fucking like Eddie only injured himself in the match too, which kind of
did, which is it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
man. So, Eric Ryan and Bev have been on a roll for a while, man. Like this, I really, while I had assumptions going into it that the production would come through and move on to the next round, you couldn't count out the idea that it really could have been Bev and Eric Ryan moving on either.
Yeah.
And their matches always fucking deliver. Opinions differ, but I thought the Tijuana guys, maybe didn't try the hardest in some of the times that those guys went up against each other. Mm-hmm. But Bev and Eric noticed that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're really good. And their matches always deliver. And this was no exception. This match was really good.
On a side note, like, I wouldn't be disappointed if the Young Studs became champions again.
Fuck no, I wouldn't either.
Like, that in itself could be its own really awesome moment. So I think even with all the first round matches, there was only one that I figured it was absolute who was going to win, and that was Spirit Squad. I did not think they were going to win.
Yeah, man. The injury to Eddie kind of made, the night weird for the production, but...
Yeah. All in all, I don't remember, because of this being so far out, of having direct memories of this match.
Yeah, that's the problem with being this far removed from a show.
And having, we're reviewing 3 shows within 2 days. A lot of shit happened in a short amount of time.
Right.
But anyway, we had the production advance to the finals via double team wheelbarrow driver. Yeah,
our first team through to the second round, the production.
Mm-hmm. God, you can even tell in the picture that Caden took for the result, Eddie's very light on that ankle.
Yeah, and I didn't see it happen during the match. I didn't notice it.
I think at intermission is when I heard about it. He went to the hospital or something. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I had no clue until till Danhausen came out the second match, so.
Next up we have the favorites to win it all versus the champions who won it last year. We have the Weird World versus PME, another, set of tag teams that are very, very familiar with each other, but just getting the result, it was, PME fucking advancing via Sunset Dreams, and I think that was huge. I think for fans knowing that PME is one win away because, like I've said, they've been the favorite to win the titles since probably even before To Infinity and Beyond recapture the titles.
I mean, and no disrespect to Weird World at all, but I think everybody could have kind of saw that PME was going to pull through this and move to the next round. The reaction those guys get from the crowd every time ceases to amaze me. It's infectious. Mm-hmm. love those guys, and it's evident why. I mean, they're really good. Yeah, and this, there was the dynamic here of like these guys, these two teams are like friends. This wasn't like their kind of situation. This was more just like a competition to see who could move forward. And I think it was a really big deal that, you've got Weird World, who won last year. Mm-hmm. Me, in their first round, unseats the former winners, in the trajectory going through the tournament. Cool. It was a good match.
What are your thoughts on it, Charlie?
I mean, there's not much else to say. I mean, it's true. Like they didn't come in like it was going to be a big brawl, and it was a fun tag match. And, we got what everybody kind of was expecting. PME moving on to the second round.
Is there any fan base out there that boos PME?
I haven't seen it.
Neither have I. And like, I know I've said millions of times, like how, well, they go from company to company and just they can debut somewhere and people love them instantly. And I think that's the fun. How many wrestlers are like that, where they can go to a new company and just within their very first entrance, you get people falling in love with them. I remember
it's rare.
It's so rare. I think of, like, I remember when Josh Alexander debuted in AIW. It was like, all right, you look cool, but let's see what you got first. So it was very much, and for most wrestlers, when you debut, if we don't know who you are, you get kind of a cold welcome. But after we see you in a match, we warm up to you. But them, PME is like, they're not even in the ring yet, and people are like, all right, I like these guys. These guys are great. These guys are fun.
Man, I've even seen them on some shows where the crowd was very lively for the rest of the show. But when PME came out, those people who had maybe not been so vocal and into the show were all of a sudden pretty vocal and into the show. And I think that says something, too, that they could kind of take a dead crowd and liven them up. That's even rarer yet.
You got anything to add, Butters?
There's just something special about them. I don't know what it is, but I like it. I want to see more of it. I'm glad we have them around.
Next up, we had the official AIW team debut of the Rip City Shooters, Wes Barkley and Joshua Bishop versus the Jollyville Fuckets. In this match was under Fuck It rules, which shit just went crazy after that.
I think everybody was just waiting this whole match for when Wes was going to catch that pounce.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You want to repeat on here what you said about it, Charlie?
I felt like he was going to go flying, and they did it perfectly, too. Like, that match was my favorite match, I think, of the first round. There was just, it drew me in, and there was just so much with the Fuck It rules and, like, how they kind of did stuff, and I think they knew everybody was expecting that pounce, and they flipped it on us, and then, it was great. It was so good. It was so good.
So, it's not here in the tweets. It's not really shown in some of the results that you can read online, but Fuck It rules ends up being 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, which I thought was a really cool twist.
Really cool to the fact of it was the Rip City Shooters that got the first pinfall. I don't remember who and what. And like everybody went crazy. Fuck, I went crazy because I didn't think that was going to fucking happen. And then it was announced, no. Fuck It rules is 2 out of 3 falls. And the Fuck It's got fairly quick falls in. Not instantly, but within 5 minutes? Maybe a little bit longer?
I think it was that long. I don't even think it was that long.
So you watch, because there were a lot of people there. I don't know if this was the Bishop Brigade, the Barkley Nation, both of them combined, whatever it was, these people were going nuts. And within a matter of minutes, it flipped. It was the biggest fuck you to them. I thought that was what's funny. Like, I have nothing against either of them, or even their fans at this point. But to get like a kind of a trolling was pretty funny.
Well, man, I like the Fuck It's a lot. Other team. So, I mean, real deal. There are a majority of the teams that if you told me, hey, they're going to be AIW tag team champions, I'd be like, and I think that speaks to just the depth and the quality of the tag team division in AIW. But, the Fuck It's older statesmen of that division. And man, it's a good match. It's always a good match. And I don't think enough people appreciate them.
I do love the Fuck It's. I know I wasn't high on them when they first debuted. Like, I thought they were okay. I didn't understand, like, why people loved them. But over time, I fucking downright fell in love with them. They're fucking great. They're hilarious. And on the flip side of it, you know, fucking T-Money and the Pounce is always a highlight. The Cannonball, if it happens in a match, is a fucking highlight. There's so much great shit with them.
They walk down the sidewalk like they're an evolution.
I was going to mention
that. Dude, those guys are the best dressed tag team in the AIW locker room. They always come, like, dressed up.
Okay, I don't think you were there for this, Stacy. This is what happened. Like, okay, they're dressed up really nice. They're coming down the sidewalk towards the Odeon, and if you look at them, like, it looked like they stepped right out of the Evolution entrance video of Evolution walking down the street. So as a joke, and someone said you should have recorded it, and like someone could have been playing the music or something. But as they were walking down the sidewalk, I threw on the Evolution's music, so it was like Evolution. It took Russ a couple seconds to figure out what was going on, but talk to him later. He got a bit of a chuckle out of it, though he said they're both the Mark Jindrak of their team. But they are like two of the best dressed, you know, tag teams.
Dude, always, every time those dudes are dressed up. Middle of summer, middle of winter, always dressed up.
Always dressed for APSO.
Okay. You called them like the elder statesmen of the tag division. This is something I didn't even think of. I pulled up the first Double Dare tournament. These are the tag teams they were in there with. Their first round, they went up against Mark Andrews and Pete Dunne. Not necessarily a tag team, but obviously not in AIW anymore. Euthanasia was in also the first round against the Submission Squad. The Hooligans versus Hope and Change, as well as Nixon, Bobby Beverly, and Ricky Shane Page versus the Sexpo Bombs, now known as Besties in the World. So basically, yeah, they are the elder statesmen of, you know, the tag division. Euthanasia is the only tag team somewhat still around, but they're not, you know, wrestling every month or wrestling as a tag team every booking.
And I mean, Bev and Eric Ryan have both been around for a while. You know, like,
yeah,
Julie and in other tag teams, maybe further back than the Fuckets. But yeah, the solid team a long fucking time.
Mm-hmm. I think they left. I'm not saying they left. They weren't booked in AIW for a while, but I think it was more of just their personal schedules. They weren't able to fit wrestling in at all, or Nasty Russ was here and there. And when they came back, that was like we were talking about before we started recording. Some of like my top 5 favorite surprise moments when they came back. That was another fun one, just because they like kind of disappeared out of nowhere, but eventually they came back. But they're another team I'd love to see become tag team champions again.
And that's what I was saying, man. I think of these teams would be deserving of being the tag champs, and I think that speaks to how interesting this tag division is going to be over the next year, man. Like, every match, there's not a situation, teams, where if, you know, To Infinity and Beyond are defending, or if the production are defending, or, you know, whoever happens to be the champions at the time, it says when they go up against not going to lose the belts, that when they go up against PME, they're not going to lose the belts. You know, sometimes on a wrestling card, you can look at a match and be like, you ain't losing the belt tonight. Not to the guy. Division isn't going to be like that. Every match is going to have that potential, and that's fucking amazing.
Kind of interesting that you said that, because going into this next match, I did not have that feeling. I knew who was going to win. That was To Infinity and Beyond versus the Spirit Squad. Great having Spirit Squad there, but there was no way I thought they were going to make it to the finals, or even the fact of To Infinity and Beyond were going to lose their first round.
Squad ain't for me.
If it was the whole Spirit Squad, I think it would have been fun, and I'm not just saying that because like Dolph Ziggler was in it, but
that would not have made it any better for me.
But I'm like, it's having the whole group aesthetic.
Man, I just don't. This match could have been like, bell rings, Colin and Cheech just fucking roll them up, 1, 2, 3, done. Okay, let's move on. And look, other people, wrestling's full of different characters for different people to like, but Spirit Squad don't do fucking nothing for me. Hecked out during this whole match.
What were your thoughts on it, Charlie?
As soon as Spirit Squad came out, I actually said, I was like, man, there's actually a team I hate more than Colin and Cheech. And I was like, I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. And, man. And then they somehow tried to play like the good guys in the match. And I'm just like, no, I don't like either of you, but we know who's going to win this. Let's just get this going.
Then I think this was the match. You had Chuck Stone's family fucking going nuts, just yelling shit. And it was mostly at the Spirit Squad.
Regret about this match was it was early enough in the card that I didn't have to take a piss yet.
Yeah, but if you
I will say Kenny is super ripped. Like, dude is chiseled out of stone, but
obviously takes care of himself, sure. Definitely has a gym membership. Congratulations. I don't do anything for me, man.
Yeah, so Infinity and Beyond, to Infinity and Beyond, advance via roll-up, to Infinity and Beyond wins, LOL.
Setting up our finals with PME, the Fuckets, and To Infinity and Beyond.
Mm-hmm. Did you say the production?
Match on paper.
PME, the production, Fuckets, To Infinity and Beyond. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
You have the
That's great.
You have the champions in 3 very interesting opponents. You have kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You have the Fuckets who were kind of, trying to win back the titles after so long. Then you have 2 of the best up-and-coming tag teams in AIW, PME and the production.
Absolutely.
And like I said...
And
go ahead.
There's still that possibility there that To Infinity and Beyond just win the fucking Biggins Cup. Nobody has that ability to challenge with it up for the final.
We're not going to get into the finals just yet. I will say that did not happen, but what if? That was kind of my thing. What would have happened if To Infinity Beyond won?
I think people would have thrown shit.
Actually, looking at this was a rematch from Slumber Party Massacre for the finals.
You're right. I didn't even think about that. But what the Slumber Party Massacre, that wasn't elimination, right?
I believe that was one fall.
Okay. On a side note, can we really stop yelling one fall?
It's never going to stop. Just don't. You just got to come to peace with it, Summers. It's going to happen.
It's true. The what chant lasted how long? That's still kind of...
I have never heard that at AIW.
Oh, not at AIW. I'm talking about wrestling in general.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, don't give people any fucking bad ideas, man.
Oh, fuck no. So, it was at this point in the night that we went into an intermission. So, we'll come back right after this commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
And coming out of intermission, we had the one called Manders versus Big Twan Tucker, a rematch from UXWA, and something that was mentioned last week, Manders almost killing Big Twan in this match.
Yeah, it was rough. NX Twan took one to the neck.
It was definitely better than the first match they had at UXWA. You could tell that they had a little bit better feel for each other and what they could do, maybe minus that one spot. Like, it was a good match.
It was a good match. Yeah, aside from that spot, it was a great match, to be honest. Fucking both of these guys can go, man, and they went.
What were your thoughts on it, Butters?
That was a big old hoss fight, man. I enjoyed it. I want to see it again. I mean, outside of that one spot, it was a blast to watch live.
People like hoss fight.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy, has your opinion changed of Mander's gimmick yet?
I still don't get it, but it's whatever, man. He can go. So weird kind of varsity blues cowboy man thing that he wants to be in the ring like he does. That's cool.
I'm hoping with, Big Twan kind of being put in a little bit more prominent role, or what seems to be like with everything coming out with MJF, that maybe we will get more Haas fights. Maybe we will get more Haas matches. Like, it seemed like when Twan first debuted, that's kind of where they were going. Because Big Twan versus Big Mo was a match. That was pretty fucking fun. And hopefully, that leads into more Haas battle matches.
There's a bunch of people I would like to see and have big old hoss fights with Twan. But I'm glad Twan's all right.
It was Big Twan winning via spear.
That spear's getting better and better every time he throws it, too.
Mm-hmm. Next up...
Sorry, man.
No, go ahead before we move on.
I say, watching Twan over the last year wrestle between like UXWA and AIW, man, the improvement that kid's had.
Yeah.
Like talking about how that spear's gotten better, it really has. Like over the course of a year, you've just seen that like the development of, him progressing from kind of a green student to someone who can hold his own in a ring with a dude like Manders.
I think another really good match I seen him in with, and it was more like it was going to be a good match to help him grow, was PWF him versus Brett Eisen. And that was a little bit more green Twan going up against Brett. So he's definitely learned. He's definitely gotten a lot better. And, hopefully it continues too.
I don't see why I wouldn't.
And with everything going on with him, like lately, with the whole, because I don't know exactly when the NXT stuff is going to air, but like this should raise his stock. And I'd like to see him like travel more, get out there. Like Twan's fun. Twan's a great fucking dude.
Yeah, man. Watching Twan watch wrestling is fun. How much he loves wrestling. It's hard to not like Twan.
Hell, not even just wrestling. Watching his Instagram videos from WrestleMania weekend when he was just walking around New York City acting like Spider-Man, like from first person point of view, like with the webs. That was fucking great.
Yeah, man. How do you not like Twan?
Next up, we had another non-tournament match. You had Mikey Millennial, or Mikey Montgomery, Chuck Stone, Eric Taylor, and Arthur MacArthur versus Tim Donst, Dr. Daniel C. Rockingham, Brian Carson, and Parker Pierce. Definitely, we kind of like talked about last week about day 2 with the students, but this match right here was another fun point, especially with frickin' Mikey.
Yeah, man, he's real good. I mean, the this year are really good. Not that they weren't in previous years, but some talent with these guys.
How do you feel about the students, Butters?
I mean, right out the gate, they're doing a lot of fun stuff, and it's almost like they're more prepared than previous years. I feel like there's a lot of stuff they can do with them right out of the gate, and then at least with a few of them, and it's exciting to see where they go from here. I've never really seen people come right out of like a training school and see them like in their first like beginning matches and stuff like that. So like to see this, it's really interesting, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Well, I mean, we talked about on the last episode, what a big deal it was for Mikey and Eric to be able to be in the match on J-Lit. But in this match, I mean, that they all got to work with like Tim Donst, like that's cool for someone as early into his wrestling career as these guys are.
I think when this match was happening, I kind of made a joke that we had in this match combined, 3 absolute championship reigns, 1 intense title reign, and that's pretty impressive. Granted, that was all Tim Donst, but
all one person.
Yeah, I'm waiting more for we get to the point with Mikey and Eric to team. I think that is a great tag team waiting to happen.
Possibilities with that, sure. That tag team division's pretty healthy right now, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, not even
to break into for a new team.
Not even just AIW. Elsewhere, like I think those two could go on the road and tag together.
Sure.
Hey, man, they actually are in QCW. They started like a new stable there with them actually teaming.
Well, there you go. There's a team. And I know one thing that wasn't talked about too. This was a reunion of Dedication Personified in a match.
Woo! It was.
The big story of this match though was Donst getting the win via Dust Till Dawn submission, and continuing to beat the shit out of all the students. You then have Dom come in, make the save, and we had a match set up for Absolution. Dominic Greeny versus Tim Donst in a submit or surrender match.
Jesus Christ.
Outside of the Absolute title, wasn't this the first match announced for Absolution?
Maybe true. Yeah, I guess it is.
And that's a good match to start with. Outside of the Absolute.
I'm sold on one match. Give me a ticket. Surrender. The last fucking submitter surrender Dom had ended with Josh trying to light him on fucking fire. Like, sign me up.
Do you think Donst will go that far?
I can't imagine why not. I mean, he's handcuffed people to fucking ropes and shit before. If Donst wants to win a match, he'll do whatever he needs to win a match.
That's true. Any more thoughts on the 8-man tag match? I still say the student killed it. It was great to see them. I mean, obviously, get in a ring with, a guy like Donst and like 3 other AIW students who from former years. Like, this match was fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was sitting next to Jayhawk, and I told him, I was like, man, as soon as this match started, I was like, watch this. You're gonna enjoy this. And because he had never seen the students before. And by the end, he was like, they are excellent. He's like, I can't wait to see more. That was so much fun. So they're a nice old hidden gem that hopefully just gets bigger.
See, there's proof positive that the students made new fans at this show.
Hell, not even at the show. I'm looking at the Twitter feed from it, and you had Deshaun's 2 cents. He even tweeted out watching the Fight TV, said, I dig that Mikey Millennial kid.
For being on internet pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. There's a lot of wrestling schools that you can go to. In your first summer of having matches, you get to be on pay-per-view twice in the same day.
Yeah. God, that could lead me down a whole other rant. I know a handful of wrestling students in the area, and my thought process is why don't you go to the best one in the area? You can go to a local indie and train with them. That's fine. Where's that career going to get you? Those trainers that are training you, how far have they gotten?
Oh man, the proof is in this, and I don't care if it's in the greater Cleveland area, Pittsburgh area, and I don't have a stake in this at all. But I'm smart enough to look at the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at everybody who's came out of that school from the time when Johnny and Candace were running it up through now. And look at the places those people have wrestled, the profile they have on the indie scene at this point, and look at the quality of their work.
Yeah.
I just don't see why you would pay somebody else fucking money there.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I think some people would try to say oh, well, this X school is closer to me. Well, there is a particular school that I think is, it's somewhat close to me, but you have guys like Trey Lamar, Dominic Greeny, and Joshua Bishop who live in my area. They live close to that school too. They went to Cleveland. They went to AIW.
Britt Baker didn't live in Cleveland.
No.
PB didn't live in Cleveland.
I think with them though, I don't think they started training. They did the smart thing. You go local, and then you go, okay, I'm going to go over here because look at all the results all the students are getting. And they benefited from it, hands down.
And so look, man, sometimes you gotta, if you live down here, where I live, and you don't want to drive up there 2 days a week, or it doesn't work with your schedule or whatever, completely understand that. It comes down to what you want out of the thing. But I think if you get into wrestling and you don't just want to do it as a hobby, as a real thing, I really think there's probably only one school in the area that you should be looking at, because the opportunities that you'll get out of there, if you're good enough, fucking work. I just don't see why you would go somewhere else. People who have gone there who have, like you said, have trained other places and then went there after.
I've even looked at it this way. There are students in other schools right now or just wrestlers who have wrestled about, let's say right now, 2 years. The students that will debut next year will have a better first year than the most other students elsewhere, in this area. And that's and it's kind of like what you say. It's I'm smart enough to look at the results, to just look outside and say, well, this is how far they're going. This is how far this other school's going. Why don't I just go to AIW?
I mean, a ton of these guys from classes within the last 2 years are booked everywhere from Illinois to Tennessee to fucking the East Coast. If you're training at any number of other schools that I know in the area, bookings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's like just a thing that I always think about, and I want to pull a lot of these students aside that I'm friends with and say, like, what are you doing?
Man, I try to even tell people I know that are training other places goddamn seminars and they don't do it, so whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that weird.
Oh, Billy Kidman's gonna be here. Maybe you should fucking go do that seminar. Oh, Ultimo fucking Dragon's gonna be here. Maybe you should go do that seminar. Arn fucking Anderson is going to be there. Maybe you should go do that seminar. Oh, no, there's nothing I can learn from Arn Anderson. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah. I mean, even if you go that route, look at Lee Moriarty. That's what he did. But granted, I even think after a while he might have started going to the AIW school. I don't know. But
I know this. Lee Moriarty's not, like, better right now than he was the first time I saw him. The difference is he's getting an opportunity at a place where there's bigger exposure because he did things like come in and go to that fucking Ultimo Dragon thing.
And he
did the initiative. You know, he made himself known.
He was the only outside AIW person to go. Like that. What the like? That's just where I go. Like, what the fuck are you guys thinking? But
and now this has turned into a fucking infomercial for the AIW school because we're talking about the student match. But it's just, I mean, it's a reality that. And I don't have like a stake in this. Ain't nobody paying me fucking nothing to say it. Like if you're a local wrestler in Northeast Ohio, you have aspirations of doing this on a level bigger than like the weekends 40 miles within where you live. And even if that's your fucking aspiration, why not learn how to do it really fucking well? Paying where you're paying, but you should probably message Dom or John and figure out how you can be at their school.
Yeah.
Fucking there. And if you can't see the difference in the results, then maybe you don't know how to see good wrestling. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't pay me either, but every so once in a while they'll put out the card is going to change, and there's like a lot of like really good advice, and I share it. And I'm just kind of like, people, if you're not a part of AEW, fucking listen to this shit. This is good. And it's not like, oh, this is a good podcast. It's they're giving out good advice. Or like the one from last week. Oh, you want to come to AIW? Well, do this. And, you know, you have the potential, might not happen, but you have the potential of getting booked. And these are the wrestlers that did just that.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about all that. Rant over. But actually, watch the matches. Like, watch this show, watch the J-Lit weekend. When it's available, watch the brewery show, the Guido's Beer Bash show.
Yeah.
Students, this current crop of students are having fucking great matches. Card on AIW shows is now filled with former students. Good enough to earn those spots.
There's one thing that I know Thorne has said, and I think he said it for a while, and I agree with it every time he says it. People love like finding that new up-and-coming wrestler. Like, yep. And just falling in love with them, but nobody wants to be there for the build to where they get to that spot. And it's cool to be able to watch a guy like Dom or Bishop, like, come from just being a no-name student to, like watching their profile build. And I'll root for them every step of the way, wherever they get fucking booked. Like this is awesome. Like, oh, they're going to debut in this state. That's fucking awesome. Oh, they're going to debut for GCW. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, just going to that school isn't a guarantee either, because there's people who've went to that school that just, you know,
yeah,
not everybody has the same talent level or the same dedication or the same skill set or what, you know, whatever, and people paces. So it's not like this weird guarantee where, oh, you go to the AIW school and then this and that who have debuted that don't really wrestle regularly.
I would say it comes down to you get what you put in. And
sure.
The ones that are getting booked all these places are the ones that put in the maximum effort.
Yeah.
Before we transition, I'll throw out I think a guy who needs a lot of just look what he's done is Derek. I remember Derek just selling merch. I remember Derek working every single show he can. And, you know, now I'll never forget when he debuted in the AIW. I'm like, this is fucking great, dude. That's awesome. and he steps it up every step of the way. And we're definitely not done with him. He's going to continue to step it up and get better and find ways to get out there.
It's a guy who's low-key evolved his whole thing over the past and really came into his own.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Or
thing we're here to actually do.
Yeah. It's probably going to be like a lighter episode because I think we got like 2 more matches to talk about. 2 more matches. We have the AIW Absolute title on the line. PB Smooth versus Filthy Tom Lawler.
Had a weekend, man.
Was it just me, or did it had a weird finish? The whole thing of like Trey coming out, causing a distraction. PB only gets a 2 count. Trey walks back, and then PB loses. Let me. What? Was I the only one scratching my head on this one?
Honest, we're far enough removed. I didn't remember the finish.
Well,
I mean, I remembered who won, but I didn't remember the finish.
Jogged my memory a little bit, though, like by saying when Trey came on. And I feel like there was supposed to be something else, and it just, for whatever reason, didn't happen, and then it just kind of, I don't know.
It was like Trey came out, distracted Tom. Tom got a little distracted. PB went for a pin, might have been a roll-up, only got a 2 count, and then Trey walked back like, wait a minute, that didn't work. Why are you leaving? And then I think it was not that long after that, Filthy Tom, retained via roll-up.
I remember very little of this match.
Yeah, I don't remember as much from this either. I felt it was kind of set in stone, like Filthy Tom would win. When Trey came out, though, I was like, oh shit, is PB going to get the title back? And then, like I said, 2 count, and then Tom won. That's the only thing I remember.
Do you think this probably for the time being is the coffin of PB for the Absolute title?
Yeah, I think especially with what we've seen after this for day 2, now it's going to be more 40 acres, and now
right.
Maybe versus the production, maybe we were talking about tag teams earlier. We still have yet to see a tag a just regular tag match with 40 acres. They could easily do Freebird rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's definitely more coming with 40 acres. But yeah, I felt like this was the end of PB singles Absolute title. We're done. We're moving on.
Right.
Speaking of being done and moving on, let's get to the main event of the evening. We have the production, Danhausen, and their director. Like I said, Eddie Only did suffer an injury, so Danhausen with Freebird rules filled in versus the Fuckets versus PME versus To Infinity and Beyond.
And any worry that you had about To Infinity and Beyond winning this match was taken care of pretty quickly.
Which I was pretty much happy about that. Unfortunately, we didn't tweet elimination results, but it was To Infinity and Beyond getting DQ'd. Like you said, fairly quick, maybe first couple minutes. Who was it? I think the Fuckets got eliminated next.
So yeah, I believe it came down to the production and PME at the end. Yeah.
Which to me, top 2 up, like I said before, up and coming tag teams. Whoever won, I'd have been happy. I predicted.
And so this is. I'm sorry, man. I talked over you.
It's okay. Go ahead.
That's the thing. Is this brought you down to 2 teams where either one could win this? It was not predictable to say the least. And it's the 2 teams you wanted to see it come down to.
I had predicted the production. Unfortunately, I was wrong. The thing that I'll throw out that I wanted to see the production win, but I'd wanted to see To Infinity and Beyond still in the ring and instantly cash in. But I really do love the story that, like I've said, we've been building to. PME wins via the Sunset Dreams, and they immediately announced they're cashing in at Absolution.
We have 3 matches for Absolution.
Yes.
2 title matches and a holy shit match. I think Absolution's going to be PME's night. I
fucking hope so. Especially people were bitching when To Infinity and Beyond won, and my instant thought was you're gonna have PME win. That's who they're going to beat. The team that everybody hates as champion. And that night in December, freaking PME had a regular tag match, or maybe it was a 4-way tag, but anyway, they were fucking huge. So to me, I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, yeah, this has to be Absolution. Maybe WrestleMania weekend. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But now we're here. Absolution, tag titles, PME, to Infinity and Beyond. I think PME's going to win. Like, throwing out my pick early, but I think they're going to make it seem like they're not going to win. They're going to make us really treasure this one.
It's coming. And man, is the roof going to fly off that fucking building. Those belts at Absolution, assuming they do. Positive in the past, the To Infinity and Beyond, we're going to lose titles on previous and proven wrong time and time again. With this title reign, there have been times where, oh no, this is it, they're going to lose it. No, there's still a chance. I mean, nothing's a sure thing, but it sure says something that those guys won this tournament, momentum going into a title match at Absolution.
What's your thoughts on it, Butters?
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a lot of momentum. That it's going to be like the boyhood dream moment at APSO when that happens. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a big deal. And it's going to be so good.
I either want this to be a match like I was describing before, where we really question whether PME is going to win, and then they pull it off, or it's like a really fucking quick match. And I'm talking like 15 seconds.
And I can't imagine it's just going to be like a 15-second thing.
I'm not saying like that's what I can imagine, but I'm like picturing like what would be like a holy shit moment. And like almost any match that goes really quick, it's a lot of like, oh shit, like that match didn't last long.
Right.
But I would, if I put money on it has to be one of those matches that goes back and forth. There's some false finishes where we think fucking PME is done, but they pull it off.
Man, you know, another thing too is when we did the duo episode, I talked about how I thought it was kind of that Matt won with JT playing a role in his career. This was a little bit of that too, you know, with it being the Biggins tournament and the PME guys winning with the little bit that he played in theirs too.
And I think Philly talked about it, if I'm correct, like after the match.
I believe so.
Like, I know I've heard the story too, so that could be clouding my memory, but yeah, it was very, very fitting. Yeah, he did talk because I think he mentioned about like the first time they teamed together.
Right.
Like, so far, you know, PME, Real World, like, very fitting that they won the Chandler Biggins World Tag Team Tournament.
This show was overall good, man. I got to tell you, the student show, afternoon show of JLo Weekend delivers every time, man. Always a good show, and people sleep on it, and they shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know why people sleep on it, unless it's going back to what I was saying earlier. People don't want to watch the build.
Sign me up for that fucking build, because this show is always good. This was the show where we got the debut of AJ Gray a couple of years ago. This is that we had that weird, super crazy, almost broke his neck thing happen. I don't know, man. It's just always good. There's always a good mix of like bringing in older like name guys to be on the show. And then like with this year being Spirit Squad and stuff. And then fill the card out, like the student match, and things like that. I don't know, man. It's always just I dig this show a lot, like every year. And it's one of the cheaper AIW tickets of the year. Like if you went to that show on its own and didn't buy like a weekend pass, it's still like a $20 show. $20 show, you got an absolute title match. You got tournament, you know, it's fucking, man.
Even before this was the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament, back when it was the Back to the Future Cup, people, you know, really slept on it too.
Yeah.
Like that was the show. I mean, you mentioned about AJ Gray. That was the same show that the rope broke. And you had the students had to debut with only 2 ropes.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of those crazy things you don't always see. Normally, like, that happens probably more of your shit fucking shows. But it happened here, and I felt like that really the students had to step it up.
Yeah, it's a difficult way to go in your first match in front of a room full of people.
What were your thoughts on the show, Butters?
Overall, man, I'm glad I was there for it. I definitely didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. You said, people sleep on it. I was definitely one of those people to start, but I was very happy by the end. I definitely will be there next year, and every year that they run it, I will go, because it was a blast. And there wasn't a lot of people in there to start, but I feel like by the end everybody was there and it came together, and it was good.
Any more on your thoughts on the show, Stacy?
I think I've made my thoughts pretty clear.
Yeah, I agree with, pretty much what was said. And I like I said, I don't know why people sleep on it. And J-Lit as a whole is always so much fun. And when they added the third show, Back to the Future Cup, and now the Chandler Biggins World Tag Team Tournament, I felt like it gave you some reasons to come. And yeah, so what if, those shows didn't always have the absolute best? It had people on their way up, like Josh Bishop. He was one of those wrestlers that was in that match with 2 ropes. And I'll never forget that. And he was one of those dudes. I remember asking people, like, who do you want me to interview of these new students? Everybody said Joshua Bishop. Like, don't sleep on the students. I get that it's really cool to go to the shows with, Phoenix and Pentagon. Well, if Phoenix is there. And a lot of these other names, but they all had to start somewhere,
Opportunity, being in the Cleveland area, a lot of start. There's a history of it. There's a track record of guys starting out in Cleveland, being from Cleveland, and dudes you see on TV. For that matter, just AIW in general and like J-Lit Weekend in general. Take a moment, if you're not familiar with everybody who's ever been booked through AIW, just go back and look through those previous shows on there. And then look at your TV on Monday or Tuesday, or that's a whole lot of similar names.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Weekend. J-Lit is always fucking fun. Real tired on Sunday. But, man, for my money, there's not a more fun weekend in independent wrestling on its own. That's not like the craziness that happens around WrestleMania. The city, like, to just hang out in Cleveland for a weekend wrestling, to me, it's just in independent wrestling.
Have you ever gone back and looked and seen who was in the very first J-Lit?
I have before, but I wouldn't be able to, like, spout it off the top of my head who it was.
I pulled it up. So back in 2012, this was every entrant in the very first J-Lit. And also, I will throw out, it wasn't as big because Evolve had to pull all their talent. And Chikara stepped in, and we got a lot of Chikara talent for that show. So you had...
Who would have guessed that Gabe would be an asshole and Quack would come in and fix it? How about that?
And up until this year, this was the only one that didn't fall on Memorial Day weekend. And I think the availability of Memorial Day weekend is why it was picked after this going forward. But Louis Linden, Matt Fitchett, Bobby Beverly, and Kodama of the Batiri, Marion Fontaine, Facade, Ophidian, Gregory Iron, Willie Mack, Ethan Page, Colin Delaney, Archibald Peck, Eric Ryan, O'Barian, BJ Whitmer, Cole Cabana, Spanky, Tim Donce, ACH, Davey Vega, Ricky Shane Page, Flip Kendrick, and the main evented J-Pro, M-Dog.
Wow. That is a lot of Chikara guys.
Yeah. So you have guys like, ACH. That was, I think, right before Willie Mack got a little bit bigger. Obviously, early days of Ethan Page in AIW before he was everywhere he is now. You had, the Sexpa Bombs, now known as Besties in the World, and they're everywhere. This is 2012.
And you had Louis Linden.
Yes, you had Louis Linden. He won. This also, for a fun fact, which I think this is on IndependentWrestling.tv, this was the debut, or it might not have been this show, it might have been the show before it. This was the actual debut of Fontaine's old school character.
Oh, really?
Yes. And you could tell from this show to now how much it's been tweaked and polished. It was still good, but it got better. All right. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go, Butters?
Nope. Charly Butters on Twitter. And Not Ready, the number 4 PTW is the other podcast.
How about you, Stacy? You have anything going on?
Nothing. Actually, you know what? Super Fantastic on Twitter. Follow the Twitter for the podcast. What he is. Like, the Instagram has followers and stuff. I think it's because it's spelled different or whatever. But yeah. Like, my personal account has more followers than the podcast, and I know how many people listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drastically different fucking number. So yeah. Super Fantastic Twitter. Follow that shit.
And of course, you can find myself at Heavyset330, much like you can find this show at Wrestling Cheers, Facebook.com/Wrestling Cheers, Twitter.com/Wrestling Cheers, and Instagram.com/Wrestling Cheers. Email, if you so choose, is WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And like always, we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Check out our friends on the Trending Topics Network, such as All Beer Inside, Eurovision Showcase, Old School at the Movies, and Wrestling with Altitude. Check out our other podcast friends, such as Pod Van Dam, Super Fantastic, Road Home from Wrestling, Kick Out at 2, The IndieCast, Center Stage, So Bros Network, UXWA Today, Big Gold Belt Podcast, The Co-Host Wrestling Show, Spotlight Series, I Got Your 5-Star, and Not Ready for Primetime Wrestling. Check out our other non-podcasting friends such as Thrift Store Jobber, The Savage Dash, Powerslam.tv, use Wrestling Cheers all one word and get your first month free, Ringside Shots Photography, Sickening Pictures, Wrestle Void, Keon Sports, Stay Tough, Midwest Territory, Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're PME. Later.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Would you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Why you can say rules are all the same? You're for everybody else.